The empire of the Corps once ruled vast swaths of the Orion Arm. Their fleets stretched across 100 suns. Their armies boasted that no species could resist their might. And yet, they were dying. Stretched thin by corruption, rebellion, and famine, their grip loosened year after year. Their rulers feared the rising strength of their neighbors. And above all, they feared humanity. Humans, they believed, were slow, too patient, too bound by talk of diplomacy and fragile alliances. Humanity's fleets were powerful, but Earth still spoke of peace, of treaties, of cooperation. The Corps mistook patience for weakness. So when a human colony, Verdant Reach, a jewel of green oceans and fertile plains, prospered near the edges of their fading empire, the Corps High Council decided to make an example. They came without warning. 12 war carriers, their hulls dripping with plasma fire, descended through the colony's skies. They unleashed devastation not for conquest, but for spectacle. Cities were erased in hours. Orbital defenses were burned from the heavens. Their commanders gave no mercy, not even to the fleeing civilian ships that begged for safe passage. One Corps admiral broadcast his voice across the system, his laughter cold and arrogant. "Your world burns as lesson. Humanity's reach ends here. You are children playing at empire. You will not rise, not while the Corps still breathe." 3 million human lives turned to ash that day. Children vaporized in their classrooms, hospitals reduced to rubble, fields of crops transformed into black glass. The Corps called it discipline. Humanity called it murder. And in that single act of arrogance, the Corps had struck flint against stone. The first spark had been lit. Arrogance of the dying news spread like wildfire through the stars. The Corps celebrated their victory, parading through their core worlds with captured human artifacts. The scorched flag of Verdant Reach, shattered fragments of orbital stations. They mocked humanity as cowards who would issue condemnations but never fire a shot in return. Other alien powers whispered the same. Earth will do nothing. They are too careful, too cautious, too restrained. In the grand chambers of the Corps High Council, a senator sneered. Humans talk of patience. They speak of understanding. They will write letters, hold vigils, and cry into the void. But war, true war? They have no stomach for it. The Corps saw themselves as eternal, despite their rot. Their empire had endured for centuries. Humanity, in their eyes, was still new to the stars, fragile and dependent on goodwill. What the Corps failed to understand was that patience has a limit, and when patience breaks, the fury beneath is unmatched. The silence. Before the storm for weeks, humanity was silent. The colonies mourned. Earth said nothing. No fleet movements were detected, no retaliatory raids, no open declarations of war. Some alien powers mistook this silence for submission, believing humanity had bowed its head. But in the void, where telescopes and listening stations strained, strange signals began to pulse. Silent mobilizations, codes older than most nations. The Terran Defense Network flickered awake. Black site shipyards, never spoken of, never acknowledged, began to stir. The galaxy thought humanity too scattered to strike, too young to fight empires. They did not know what humanity had built in secret. They did not see the dreadnoughts rising from Luna's shipyards, titans of steel blotting out the stars. They did not hear the whispered commands that traveled faster than light. Mobilize, ready, retaliate. They did not feel the tremor of ancient war machines long kept in silence. Now roaring back to life, Earth was not slow. Earth was not weak. Earth was preparing. The silence was not surrender. It was the drawing of breath before the scream. Fury unleashed. When humanity moved, the galaxy trembled. The first strike came at the Corps' outer fortress world of Drelka. For centuries it had stood as a bulwark, its moons armed with 100 planetary defense cannons, its orbital platforms bristling with weapons. It was said no fleet could ever take it. The humans did not take it. They erased it. The Terran fleet arrived without announcement. Hundreds of ships surged through the void. Battle cruisers, carriers, and, at the center, the colossal dreadnought Vigilant Dawn. It was a ship so vast that alien observers later swore its shadow covered the planet like an eclipse. Human commanders did not issue demands. They gave no speeches. They transmitted only one message. Verdant Reach remembers. Then they opened fire. Drelka's moons cracked apart under kinetic bombardments. Orbital stations were sliced to ribbons by railgun salvos that crossed entire orbits in seconds. Planetary shields collapsed as precision strikes pierced their generators. And when the Corps fleet rushed to intercept, they were met with weapons no one had ever seen before. Plasma lances that gutted ships in a single beam. swarms of hunter drones that tore through cruisers like locusts devouring fields. In less than 6 hours, the fortress world of Drelka was gone. The galaxy gasped. The core howled. But humanity was only beginning. The wildfire spreads. What followed was not war as the galaxy understood it. It was vengeance. Cold, calculated, relentless vengeance. The Terran fleets did not stop. They struck again and again, moving like wildfire across the core's borders. Each world that had cheered Verdant Reach's destruction now trembled, for humanity remembered their laughter. On the world of Karash, human dropships fell like storms. Thousands of armored soldiers marched through cities, their exosuits bristling with weapons, their eyes burning with wrath. They dismantled garrisons, toppled monuments, and left messages carved into the ruins, never again. On the mining moons of Thraxis, humanity seized control of the refineries not for conquest, but for denial. They shattered the infrastructure, leaving the core starved of resources. The Empire's fleets could not refuel. Their armies could not march. Human commanders were precise. They struck where the core were strongest, where they were proudest. They shattered symbols, erased strongholds, cut arteries, and everywhere they went survivors whispered the same thing. The humans have come. Run. Like wildfire, the fury spread, consuming the dying empire faster than anyone thought possible. The annihilation of empires. The core begged their allies for aid, but no one came. The other powers had watched the storm rise, and none dared stand in its path. Some even whispered that it was fitting, that the core had provoked a fire they could not contain. One by one, the proud banners of the core burned. The High Council tried to negotiate. They sent envoys, pleading for talks, for truces, for peace. Humanity's response was silence, broken only by the thunder of advancing fleets. In the end, the core made their last stand at their homeworld. 1,000 ships rallied, their skies bristling with desperate defenses. It was the mightiest fleet the core had ever assembled. It lasted less than a day. The battle was not fought. It was executed. Human dreadnoughts advanced in formation, their guns unleashing storms of fire that turned core ships into molten wreckage. Planetary shields buckled under sustained bombardment. Orbital cities fell from the sky like burning meteors. When human ground forces descended, they did not come with the chaos of invaders. They came with cold precision, advancing street by street, methodical as surgeons, unstoppable as avalanches. The core homeworld, the heart of an empire, fell silent, and with it, the core ceased to exist. Aftermath. Whispers in the void when the fury was spent. Only silence remained. The core empire, once vast, had been reduced to ashes in less than 3 years. A civilization that had lasted centuries, ended by the wrath of a species they had mocked as too patient. The galaxy looked on in dread. Alien powers who had once scoffed at Earth now spoke only in whispers. They remembered the fleets blotting out suns, the soldiers descending like storms, the words carved into ruins. Never again. In trading halls and military councils across the stars, a new warning spread. Do not strike humanity first. Do not test their patience, for their fury spreads like wildfire, and once it begins, nothing can stop it. The galaxy learned that day what patience had concealed. Humanity's vengeance was not loud or reckless. It was absolute. It was final. And in the silence after the storm, survivors, core and alien alike, spoke the words that would echo for generations. Never provoke Earth again.